bullet train can shuttle passengers from Houston to Dallas in just 90 minutes, but it has hit some roadblocks over the years, including this recent case over eminent domain. So we've got Justin Hodge with the law firm Mars, Ellis, and Hodge LLP is live. Tell us what the Texas Supreme Court ruling means for this light rail project.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on today. So the Texas Supreme Court issued an opinion this last Friday. It was a 5-3 vote. And what the Supreme Court has said is that Texas Central Rail, which is the high-speed train, can move forward with its project. That's a big change in the law, so to speak, because there were landowners challenging whether or not Texas Central had the right to come in and use eminent domain to take their property. So this opinion allows Texas Central's project to move forward.
Can we ask you to just go ahead and explain eminent domain? That's where the government just takes the land because they need it for a project. But I mean, do the landowners get any compensation for their land? Can you just work that out for us?
Absolutely, I'll do my best. So I teach an eminent domain class at the University of Houston as an adjunct law professor. So to do that briefly, it's actually 16 classes that the students take at the law school.
Wow.
So it can be very complex. Justice Young, who wrote a concurrent opinion in this opinion, said it's downright scary. And I think some of our students sometimes think it's scary too. But generally speaking, a property owner has the right to something called just compensation. And what that means is under the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 17, and the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, a landowner should be paid justly for the property that's taken from them. But that also includes damages to property that's not taken from them. So oftentimes landowners say, well, I wasn't paid very much for what was taken from me. And in fact, there are substantial damages to what's outside of what's taken. So in the Texas Central example, it's not just the railroad right-of-way that's being taken that they has to be compensated for, but instead the damages outside of that as well, which could include a lot of land outside of the right-of-way.
So under those circumstances, we can understand people not wanting to give up their land. So you had a lot of landowners who didn't want to give up their land, people backing them as well. But is this over? Can this ruling be appealed?
No, so it should be over. There could be a motion for reconsideration filed with the Texas Supreme Court, which is an appellate remedy. But most likely the court will hold on its opinion, that is our prediction, and then landowners will need to go out and hire lawyers, someone like ourselves, who only represent landowners. And what we do is we fight Texas Central and other for-profit companies like oil and gas pipelines that take people's property, or if the state's, say, building a highway, for just compensation. And there are a lot of lawyers that focus on this in the state. We're a group of them that only represent landowners, and we help people in that process.
Well, and I know one family whose name escapes me in particular didn't want to sell their land because it had been in their family for generations. So it's more than just, money in exchange for property. But do you expect, though, that the project would pick up right away? The way the government has ruled, does that give any specific timeline that the project has to move forward?
I definitely think it gives the project momentum. And what we're seeing at the federal level is there's a federal infrastructure bill that was approved. And we will see the largest amount of federal funding ever in our country's history coming very soon. So it'll be coming from Washington down to the state level. And I suspect some of that funding will help fund the high-speed train as well as a lot of other projects, like a lot of our road projects around the state.
Are there any other legal challenges you see happening when it comes to this project?
I do. In fact, I think each individual landowner will eventually have a lawsuit to the extent they want to fight Texas Central. And that lawsuit will most likely include how much just compensation they're owed. And it'll be very specific to each individual landowner. So there'll be a lot of court fights. It'll be in a lot of different counties, starting from Houston all the way up to Dallas and every county in between. So those landowners should look to lawyers who know what they're doing in this area of the law, and they'll have an opportunity to fight for just compensation.
Well, I know you know what you're doing. You're teaching a class on it. Okay,
Yeah.
Justin Hodge, law firm Mars, Ellis, and Hodge LLP. Thanks for taking the time and for breaking it down for us. Pretty complex. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.